Hi, I'm Galit Kaunitz.
And I'm Jackie Wilson. And you're listening to Double Reed Dish,
a podcast for oboists,
bassoonists,
and the people who love them.
We are here with bagpiper Austin Jacobs, who is gracing us with his beautiful bagpiping at the University of Florida Double Reed Day. Austin, do you feel that the bagpipes are sorely underrepresented in the double reed community?
Oh, definitely. There's not a lot of people at this campus, at least, that know how to play. I think there's me and just one other professor that I know of, but definitely we're a very small breed.
What got you into the bagpipes?
So funny story, I was bored on a Thursday night and there were free lessons at my local YMCA, so I started playing there 9 years ago. So it's been a very long time coming.
And my understanding is that the double reed in the bagpipe is actually somewhere inside. Talk to our listeners about how this works. I don't know what I'm looking at.
Okay, so you have the bag of the bagpipe, and each of the three drones has a double reed inside that's connected at the bottom of the drone. And then the recorder-like part at the end where you see the bagpiper's hands, that's called the chanter, and the chanter also has a double reed. So you're blowing on 4 double reeds at once.
Yes.
So you have to start on just one double reed, and then it takes you a few years to build up the lung capacity to move up to the 4.
Wow.
So 4 times 2, this is an 8 reed. We got an 8 reed.
Would you play something for us?
What would you like me to play?
Anything.
Anything.
All right.
Okay, we're going to have to get some distance.
We have joining us Conrad Cornelison, Principal Bassoon of the Jacksonville Symphony Orchestra. Welcome to UF Double Reed Day.
Hi, how's it going? I'm happy to be here.
Can you tell us about your journey to the bassoon?
My journey to the bassoon started when I was in 3rd grade. I'm from a small town in Kentucky, and we don't have local band or orchestra that can come demonstrate instruments for us. So we had a musical instruments of the orchestra day where my music teacher played cassette recordings of each instrument, showed us a picture of each instrument, and gave us a brief description of it.
A cassette recording.
A cassette recording, that's right. I'm really aging myself here. So one of the things that I remembered, I didn't remember how the bassoon sounded, I didn't remember how the bassoon looked, but I remembered that my music teacher described the bassoon as being the clown of the orchestra. So 3rd grade me, being a very devoted, serious class clown, thought that was just awesome and hilarious. And when 6th grade finally came around and I joined the middle school band at Madison Middle School in Richmond, Kentucky, go Panthers, and I had to choose an instrument, the only thing I could remember was the bassoon is the clown of the orchestra. I have to play the bassoon. So I said the bassoon, and my band director was simultaneously confused and thrilled. And they had to end up borrowing a bassoon from the local university just so I would have something to play on because our middle school didn't own one. But ever since then, it was love at first sight, and I'm still doing it today.
So how did you find your way to Jacksonville?
I found my way to Jacksonville mostly for the orchestra jobs. So prior to me joining the Jacksonville Symphony in 2017, I used to work as the second bassoonist in the Houston Grand Opera. And prior to that, I was in graduate school at Rice University in Houston, Texas. So I really enjoyed my time working in the opera. It was a fantastic job, had fantastic colleagues. Houston's a great city. But, the audition came open for principal of the Jacksonville Symphony, and it was something that seemed really interesting to me. So I decided I would take the audition, and I am very fortunate that I was offered the position, and I've been very happy here since I joined the orchestra.
Rumor has it you're married to an oboist.
Rumor is true. Rumor is true. So I am married to an oboist. Her name is Xiaodi Liu. And she's currently on a 1-year appointment as second oboist with the Atlanta Symphony. So it's kind of a tragic thing having to do long distance for a year. But, we hear very much of each other's reed making and crowing. And we even moved into a 3-story townhouse so we could have a buffer floor in the middle for when each of us are crowing our reeds. Yeah. But yeah, I know way too much about the oboe as a bassoonist.
Does she sharpen your knives?
She does. I am not qualified.
So stereotypical.
I am so not qualified for that.
So, what's your favorite thing about playing in an orchestra?
My favorite thing about playing in an orchestra, as opposed to playing sonatas or playing solos or things like that, is when I'm playing in the orchestra, I feel like I am one gear in a very large moving machine. And, I still have a solo role as the principal bassoonist. I get to play nice solos. I get to have a major contributing voice in the orchestra. But at the same time, I get to have these interactive, magical moments with my colleagues on a nightly basis. And some of my favorite moments in the orchestra actually are the times when I'm not playing and another one of my colleagues has a solo and I'm able to just sit back and enjoy that and, feel inspired and, feel like it makes me want to be a better artist.
On the flip side, do you have any pet peeves within, let's say, orchestra etiquette, or if a sub comes in and does something weird?
Pet peeves, wow.
What should an aspiring orchestral musician know?
Don't
do this.
Okay. Always bring a pencil. Always make sure you bring a pencil because, it's fine to ask and borrow from somebody, but, I think some people get annoyed with that pretty quickly. I don't really mind so much. Don't turn around and look at people when they're playing solos, even if it's for good reason. Even if you think, hey, that person sounded really good, I'm going to go see who played that solo. It can be misinterpreted in a weird way. Try not to, play on your phone and stuff during rehearsal. And I think the most important thing is just make sure that you show up prepared and make sure that you're not sight reading on the job and you show up and you have a really strong sense of how you fit into the texture before you join in with everyone else.
Great point.
We love hearing about people's humiliation. It makes us feel better about ourselves.
Totally.
So, do you have any embarrassing moments you would tell us about?
Sure. I'll give you a more recent one, actually. So, there was a Pops concert at the Jacksonville Symphony. And the most tragic thing happened, which was that I was playing and my reed decided it was going to fall off of my vocal while I was playing.
Which happens.
Yeah. Right? I mean, I didn't ream it enough. I guess I was in a hurry and it just decided it was going to pop right off my vocal. Just got to ream. Yeah.
She says like she knows what a reamer is.
So that happened, and it turned out there was a really short, totally non-substantial bassoon solo that was coming up in the music. It was like, a couple notes, exposed bassoon. But it was enough to have the 4 letters solo written above it. And this happened, and my reed fell off, and I'm looking around everywhere, and I can't find my reed anywhere. So I have no idea what happened. It's like it disappeared into the netherworld or something. And so I had to grab a dry reed out of my box and dip it in the water real quick and throw it on the bassoon and kind of play the solo. And thankfully everything worked out. But I come to find out later that the reed somehow, through the magic of physics, had fallen off my vocal and into my cummerbund, where it was tucked kind of between my belly and the cummerbund. I didn't notice it until the intermission, and I was walking around. I'm like, man, something feels weird with my cummerbund, and I reached in there, and it was my reed. So if you need a good hiding spot for an extra reed, I highly recommend the cummerbund region.
Since we're in Florida, how much would you feed your best reed to a gator for?
I suppose I would feed my best reed to a gator for $175.
Very specific.
I feel like a good read is worth more. I don't know. Maybe you're not hard up for good reads all that much.
Well, I guess the problem is I don't have that many good reads. They're all kind of equally bad, So
it depends how good your best read
right,
is.
exactly.
Right.
Or how much you need the money.
Yeah, how much you need the money. That's true. Yeah, I guess throwing away my least bad read, it would be about 175.
Thank you so much, Conrad.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. We have here with us Dr. Leslie Odom, Associate Professor of Oboe and Music Theory at the University of Florida and co-host of the University of Florida Double Reed Day. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for being here.
So what was your favorite part about Double Reed Day today?
My favorite part was when everybody was playing together, and it just sounded so awesome, and there was just oboes and bassoons everywhere. It wasn't enough. It was just, I really thought 6 oboes was my limit, like in a band, but no, today was just perfect.
So how many were there?
I think there were 20 oboes and 3 English horns. We can't skip those guys.
True.
10 bassoons maybe? 12 bassoons and 1 contra. How's that?
That's pretty serious. So for our listeners who maybe are just getting to know you through this episode, tell them a little bit about yourself, where you come from, how you came to Florida. Give them some background.
Alrighty. I'm originally from Indiana, and I did my undergraduate at Butler University in Indianapolis, and started out as a composition theory major. And when I realized I had to really compose music, I thought there is no way. So I went second semester right into oboe performance, and then did some time at the University of Iowa, but didn't get a degree out of there, and transferred everything over to Eastman and got my master's in theory from Eastman and my doctorate from oboe. And then when I was looking for a job several years ago, we won't mention how long, there were 4 jobs open in the country. That was it. And at that time, Nancy King had sewn up the job at Ithaca, and I had burned some bridges out of town on the way out of town at Iowa. And so it was here, and it was Ohio University in Athens. And so I interviewed here and got the gig and been here ever since. So that's pretty much. Anything else that you need to know about that part?
What do you love most about teaching? What inspired you to be a teacher?
I just really enjoy working with students, and I have a private studio from beginners all through high school, and I can't believe that when I get home after hearing so many oboes and so much music at school, that I go home and teach a bunch of private kids, and I'm not done. It's like I still have more to give. Mm-hmm. So I just really enjoy the teaching interaction, seeing success of my students, and knowing that I'm a part of their growth, both as a person and a musician. And that's just really what makes it special. But because I also teach theory, I teach sophomore theory, which is the class you love to hate. And I just love the sounds in that music, that, that's the chromatic chords and all that. And I just really enjoy that. So I know everybody in the School of Music except the freshmen. And I'm grad coordinator, so I also know all the grad students. And I think I have been labeled the social butterfly before, both in my family and in the school. Okay, I can accept that. So I don't know. It's just, I look forward to coming to school every day and seeing everybody. It's just great fun.
So if we have any student listeners who are maybe, I don't know, resentful that they have to take theory and have the perspective of why does this even matter? I just want to play the oboe. I just want to play the bassoon. Of course, theory in and of itself is important, but how does that inform you as an oboist, your love and knowledge of theory?
It helps me find patterns in the music. I have a different approach. I see things a little differently because I have the theory background. So I think it makes it more accessible to me. And I try to share that with my oboe students, even basic stuff like, what key are we in? But do you see this pattern? Mm-hmm. It repeats. It's a sequence. Why are we in this key? What is that note? Why is that important? And I think that all comes from a theory background. And I think that really helps you not just technically, but musically play the music the most expressively, as expressively as you can.
So if you had one piece in the oboe repertoire that you could throw into the swamp to be chomped up by a gator and never to be heard from again.
Oh, man.
What would it be?
Oh, one piece I'd love to get rid of. Can it be an orchestral piece?
Sure.
Can it be an excerpt?
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to trash La Scala to save that. I just would like to just, let that bless and release that one.
Okay, so let's say a gator came up and chomped up all of the oboe repertoire, and you could reach in and save one. What would it be?
What would it be?
It would be worth risking a limb to save.
Nothing is worth risking a limb. Have you seen the alligators around this place? And we have alligators on campus.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I wish we had known that before we accepted this invitation.
Oh, yeah. No, there's alligators, and they're on Lake Alice. They're like 10-footers.
Oh,
no. This is not like a joking matter necessarily. I love this piece by Dubois. It's 9 sketches. And I mean, it's just, like half a page, 9 little things, and it's just so incredible. So I have a real thing for Dubois. And it's a great piece.
I'll have to check it out.
You'll have to check it out.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So you seem like someone who might have a story or two to share. And we love to hear people's memories, but mostly we love to hear people's embarrassing memories. So I wonder if you have an embarrassing moment on stage to share, or maybe a concert memorable for a nefarious reason that you could share.
Well, I can't believe I'm going to admit this, but I went to play the first A in an orchestra concert, and it squeaked. I squeaked. I wanted the earth to open up and swallow me. And after looking at that reed, I realized the tip was too long, and probably, it was just like, and even the audience laughed. Oh my God. Oh my God. Even just thinking about it, it's just like, I can't believe I did that. And how did I show my face, to that? So I get very paranoid about giving the first, it's all downhill. After the first day, everything's downhill. it's
taught
done
you
another.
a very firm lesson.
Oh.
Well, let's have a yin to the yang. Do you have a memory of a past performance that stands out for a good, memorable reason, kind of a shining star recital?
We played Scheherazade this season, and I was just on task and just really playing amazingly. I was just like, everything was in the right place at the right time. It really was a great experience for me. And it was like, yeah, that's why we do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just, that it excuses that other issue that everyone probably will remind me about now. Hey, could you play an A? Let me hear you squeak. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
What's your advice for young musicians who want to have a career like yours?
Well, the biggest thing is to realize that you need more strings to your bow, so to speak. That you cannot just be an oboe player or a bassoon player. You really need to be able to do other things. So when students come to me, I encourage them to find something else to do. Is it, even doubling on oboe and bassoon, being a double reed specialist, going and doing music theory as a secondary, doing music history as a secondary. It's not enough to just play the instrument well to be at the college level. When you start out at a job, usually it's in a small place, small school where you have to do something else. Mm-hmm. And you need to make yourself as marketable as possible. So I think just look at what you're good at and try to incorporate all of that into who you are and who you are, your persona to your future employers. So that's the biggest thing, is just don't limit yourself to just one thing. And that's literally why I got a master's in theory, was I wanted to be more marketable than the folks who have straight oboe degrees. Mm-hmm. And I know that's why I got this job. And so I think that's the best thing to do, especially now that everybody's out there. There's tons of people with doctorates. You've just got to be different.
Right.
And I think technology is real important to know, too, these days, which you guys are doing an amazing job with this, double reed dish broadcast. I mean, you're right on the cutting edge. So congrats to you guys for coming up with this. Yeah, it's good stuff.
And thank you for having us.
Thanks for coming. I hope you don't find any alligators. Okay, so how do you get to this plane tune? What's the difference between an oboe and bassoon? The bassoon burns longer.
So we are here with host Shannon Lowe, assistant professor of bassoon at the University of Florida.
Whoa, go Gators!
So this crazy day is over. How did you feel after hosting your first UF double reed day?
I feel super stoked and also incredibly exhausted. Just because I was hoping it would go so well for everybody, and I wanted everybody to have a good time, and I wanted everybody to feel like they belonged and they could participate in some way. And I think I would call this a success for sure. And we all got to hear amazing things being spoken to are these students, and I think that just sets them on the right path. And it's so exciting that, like, I was thinking back to this 7th grader that just played her first ever master class, and thinking of how much bravery that takes, because there's so much judgment in music, and we're being judged, like, to prepare for these competitions, or what is it, All-State, FMEA, All-State, and the solo ensemble, and to just see a 7th grader get up and play in front of everybody and get feedback and then grow and get better because of it. It's really awesome. So I'd say today it was successful, super stoked, super excited, but yet incredibly tired. I think that was the most double reading I've had in one day in a long time. So need to do a little bit more of these. I need to get out more, right?
Shannon, tell us more about your journey. Where do you come from, bassoonically?
Oh, basoonically. That's a great word. Basoonically.
Basoonically.
You guys, I had no idea what a bassoon was when I picked it. I wanted to play the English horn. So I don't know how, I was a 6th grader, and I don't know how the heck I knew what an English horn was, but apparently I had it set in my heart I was going to play the English horn. And I went to my band director and I said, okay, I want to play the English horn. And he said, honey, we don't own an English horn. It's either going to be bassoon or oboe if you want something like that. And I said, oh, bassoon, that sounds so cool. I'll play the bassoon.
And don't call me honey.
And don't call me, I know, this is a small town. Yes, those back in the day. And so he gave me a big old case, big old wooden awkward case that was so beat up, and gave me a book and said, I have no idea how to teach this. You're on your own.
Great.
And so I go home to my parents. I take the bus home, and we lived on a dirt road. And my dad was a veterinarian, and my mom, she worked at a local wildlife park, a state park, as like sort of a curator, zookeeper type of person. And so I was the artsy-fartsy one in my family. Now my twin brother delved into music a little bit, but then we went our separate ways. And so, you know, me bringing home the bassoon, my dad just looked at it and he said, oh my God, what did you bring home to us? And we pop open the case. He's like, oh gosh, I could have picked the flute or something. and so we put it together. And I was so fortunate that a young bassoon teacher decided to move to my hometown with her family. She was from Miami, and she had a young family. And I guess Miami was where she was living. She wasn't happy with it. And they wanted to be close to family, which happened to be in my county. And she offered up lessons in the paper, oboe, bassoon, and piano. And my parents, back when you read the paper in hard copy form, my parents saw the advertisement and signed me up for lessons right away. They knew that lessons were important. And so I started on the bassoon, and I had a teacher maybe towards like the end of my 6th grade year. And I attribute a lot of my success to having that like helping hand so early on. Because so many students, from teaching in Georgia at one point during my career, just there's not a lot of resources in smaller towns, and bassoon I feel like it's a rare instrument. Actually, the double reeds are rare instruments, and instructors that can teach beginners and help them through, that's a big deal. So I was fortunate, and then I thought I was going to be a veterinarian at one point, guys. I came to the University of Florida, so I'm back home. It's crazy to be back here after all these years, and I thought I was going to be a veterinarian and then do music, because we have this combination degree, which was very attractive, and I loved Florida. And I wasn't too far away from my parents. I came here, but I took chemistry, and I was practicing my bassoon more and doing more music stuff than studying for chemistry. It was my first D+. I'm going to admit that out. I was a straight A student, and I thought, no, I don't think I'm going to be able. I love animals, but not enough to suffer through chemistry and more chemistry and more chemistry. And then I actually love teaching too, so I did music ed, and I switched over to music ed, and then did bassoon performance as well with that, and just have been going since then, and went on to get my master's, my doctoral degrees in bassoon, and it has never been something I've ever regretted. And I've been really fortunate that like sort of my life path hasn't had too many stumbles. It's like being at the right place at the right time, and having like amazing supportive friends and family. And so I would consider myself like incredibly lucky, and I wish this for everybody. And now I'm back here. I'm back in Gainesville. It's crazy. I was in Georgia for a little bit after I got out of doctoral school. And oh guys, I forgot to tell you this. If I ramble on, you guys edit, right? Okay. I was working as a barista in Long Island, as they say, because I was going to doctoral school. And so I got a part-time job to help because didn't want to take a lot of student loans out. And when I finished my doctoral requirements, I just wasn't well suited for New York, Long Island. It was a great musical experience, and I had an amazing teacher. Frank Morelli was just, what an incredible pedagogue, performer, and mentor. But I was happy when I was finished with all my requirements so I could get back down south because I miss my family too. And so my husband came with me, and I was transferred to West Palm Beach or Palm Beach Gardens to work at the Barnes & Noble. Both of us were going to work there. And I was like, we'll figure it out. Life will happen. And on the way on I-95, I got a call that a job was going to open up in South Georgia.
Wow.
And we zipped over through like the armpit of South Carolina and like down through the bowels of Georgia. And I met some people, and they're like, okay, send us your resume, a portfolio, whatever, the usual stuff, recordings, and we'll maybe consider, listening to you. And then I worked at Barnes & Noble maybe for 2 weeks as a barista in Palm Beach Gardens. And then I got the call to come up and do the interview, and it just, all the stars went in alignment. It just felt like it was the right place, right time. And,
amazing.
And, but I can still make a really good cup of coffee. I mean, me too. So, but that was one thing. Like, I didn't even know. I was like, we were driving down and we were just going to work. It was like one of those things. As musicians, we're like, you know what? If you love it so much, you just kind of do what you need to do. And we were like, we'll play music on the side, we'll teach, and something will work out. It's patience and perseverance. And I was one of those ones that it just worked out right away.
I've got a two-parter.
Okay.
So we're in Gainesville. Mm-hmm. So my first question is, if you could take one piece from the bassoon solo repertoire and throw it into the gator's mouth, never to be seen again, what piece would you throw into the swamp?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, gosh. Let me think about this one. Okay. Don't hate me, people, but the Hindemith Bassoon Sonata, I don't like that piece at all. I know it's got some good moments. I'm probably going to be there's going to be a lot of shade thrown my way, but that's one that I'm like, meh. There's some good moments.
My second question is, if all of the bassoon solo repertoire was thrown into the swamp, the one piece that would be so worth saving that you would put your hand into a gator's mouth to rip it back out, what piece would you choose?
Yes.
The Sanson.
Sanson?
Yeah. And I love the Hurlstone too. It'd be I don't know.
You'd put both hands in.
I would put both hands for those. Yes, those two for sure. Both hands. Actually, I would put everything in there to grab those two because they mean so much to me. Really do. Oh, that's such a good question. Don't hate me, guys, for saying I hate on Hindemith.
Has there been anything particularly hilarious or embarrassing that has happened on stage?
Yes. So I was in high school at State Solo and Ensemble and the festival, and I was playing Solo Day concert. I still remember that. My pianist was with me, and I had all my buddies, my band buddies were in there, and I was wearing a dress that it wasn't low cut, but I mean, it just, where it was like right here, and I had leaned forward during the rests, and the reed toppled down into my dress, into my bra, and I was in 9th grade or 10th grade, I can't remember which year, and I just remember I was supposed to come back in, and my pianist was looking over, what's wrong? And I was actually shy back then, or on the shyer side, which I blossomed in a lot since then. And I said, my reed fell down my chest. And so I grabbed it, and she's like, well, get it. And I grabbed it, put it on my bassoon, and started playing. And everybody in the room erupted in laughter. It was so embarrassing. The judge thought it was hilarious. It was so funny, apparently, that I got the nickname Treasure Chest. I mean, this is like maybe TMI, but... And I didn't know anything about, I was so innocent. And I was like, oh, guys, that's real funny, Treasure Chest. And so, yeah.
Shannon, this has been a wonderful chat. Thanks so much for having us out to Florida Double Reed Day.
Yay! Go Gators!